everybody a minute to catch up and get in the room. So um, here we go. I'm doing it. Can you? I've got some. I don't know what Sheets is saying. He's got 700 messages in a row. It's hard to keep up with. So I don't know what what his messages. I didn't have a chance to read it because he put it on right as I was going on. Anyway, let's talk about tonight's. This is a really obviously like just very volatile slate. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna eat a lot of this cheap chalk, and I'm going to get different by doing a couple things. One, I'm not buying that Giannis is not going to be owned at all, but I will play Giannis in addition to Harden. It's very easy to do. The thing that I'm going to do though that get different, I love Fred VanVleet as another play. I love, especially on FanDuel, Zach LaVine. We've got the obvious guys. Do I like Harden? Yes. Do I like Mills? Yes. Do I like Griffin? Yes. And LMA. I'm a little on FanDuel. Maybe I can get away from LMA, but I don't know. It's even that one's a little bit tricky for me because the offense is going to have to go somewhere. Not to mention that it's a good matchup for these guys. But my way of dealing with this situation is, first of all, automatically to run Cade back in my where I'm playing more than three or more Warriors. I like Cade anyway, so that game becomes very stackable. But really, it's Cade, maybe Isaiah Stewart, maybe Jeremy Grant, maybe Sadiq Bey, but probably just Cade as my run back. And I don't mind playing him with up to 4 Warriors. You're going to have to get the Warriors right. That's going to be a little tricky, but that is something worth considering. We did get the starting lineup, and Gary Payton, whatever we want to call it, the 100th, the 30th, whatever, he's starting. So I'm giving him a little bit of an edge. Even with Kuminga on the bench, I like Kuminga a little bit. I like Bjelica, where if I expect the game to stay close, and I like Damian Lee as my preferred ones, along with Poole, obviously. Less of a priority would be Wiggins, but you can use him in game stacks where you're playing at least 1 Detroit, and maybe you can play up to 4 or even 5 Warriors. As far as the value in Brooklyn goes, I have Harden 1, Mills 2, Aldridge just on DraftKings just barely ahead of Blake. But it's close to me. I actually think Blake has a good argument here. He could definitely do a lot more offensively with no Durant. Bruce Brown, you can put him in there in the game stack, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stack up Orlando against Brooklyn and just play like 6-7 players. It's going to suck because I'm giving up some edge. I'm not doing this in all my tournaments, but I've got 2 big lineups, and that's one of my big lineups. What my plan is to play the other side, because you're going to get no ownership whatsoever. And I think that it's a really good spot to try to run it back. You can overpay. Look, overpay is relative, but I like Cole Anthony on the run back. Sheets talked about, this is a New York kid. I like Wendell Carter quite a bit. I like Mo Bamba more so on FanDuel because I like the block steal upside. I think Wagner is in play, even with Suggs back, and Suggs is in play. So there's a lot of guys you could run back, and Terrence Ross is in play too. There's a lot of guys you could run back. Now, they have a lot of bodies in Orlando, so I would probably try to keep it to like Anthony, Carter, maybe Wagner. Maybe you play Anthony, Bamba. Maybe you play Bamba and Suggs. Maybe you play Carter and Suggs, Carter, Wagner, Bamba, Wagner. My preferred ones, though, are Cole Anthony and Wendell Carter. I really like those plays in a run back. And then if you do get a close game, you could get a lot of usage out of those guys. So I think that's interesting. Rody, let me know what you mean when you say Siakam. I'm not sure what you mean when you say that. So please make sure that because so much is happening today, if we write just that kind of stuff in chat, does that mean Siakam's out? Because my speculation earlier was that Siakam would have a chance at sitting, and we haven't heard anything all day along those lines, but it is a back-to-back coming off of an injury. For what it's worth, he did only play 30. He's not going to play his normal 38 minutes like he sometimes does. But he played 30 last night. Hasn't yet played a back-to-back and sat the last back-to-back when he came back from the injury. So that gives VanVleet a little bit of a bump to me, especially with no Anunoby as well. Let's go K9 Bronco. Let's do it. But please let me know, guys, right now if anybody's heard anything about Siakam, because when somebody just writes someone's name in and we don't have any chat, I don't know what that means. Oh no, yeah, I hate Siakam as a play tonight. That would be a big no for me. I was wondering if you thought he was out. I think if you play him, you better have a pivot because I think there's a reasonable chance he's either limited or is out in this game. So I just wanted to make sure because it was confusing me. I was like, oh no, the first thing I see is Siakam. Now he's out too. Now I have to weigh in all this stuff. I don't know what's going to happen with Jokic. I currently have Jokic in one of my builds. Um, I don't know what to tell anybody. He tends to more than most when he's questionable tends to play. But I actually thought he did kind of hurt himself last night. And it is coming off of a 35-minute game. Now we've seen Jokic on back-to-backs put up monster games, so I'm not as worried generally about his back-to-backs, but I am a little bit about this one. I mean, his last two, I think his back-to-backs this season, he's averaging 68 fantasy points a game, so I'll take that at 12K. And I like the matchup with the no bigs for the Bulls that scare me at all. All right, the other ones. So that's what I'm doing on DraftKings. I still have to figure out what I'm doing on FanDuel. I'm going through it. Some individual plays that stood out that I like. I mean, it's really honestly, I'm not a lock button guy. I may lock button Harden tonight. I don't see a whole lot of paths to failure. If you're going to fade him, I guess you'd fade him on DraftKings. But on FanDuel, I really don't know how to fade him. I'm having a very hard time with it. So that's where I'm at. I just don't see it happening on FanDuel. I can't bring myself to click the non-Harden button. Now, other guys could outscore him or whatever, but I just like him. And again, I already liked this Orlando-Brooklyn game if I thought Orlando could keep it close. And now I think they certainly can without KD in there. And obviously Joe Harris even being gone is a boost for everybody. So I want some pieces of Terrence Ross, who's going to be the low-owned. All these guys on Orlando are going to be unowned. I mentioned how much I like Cunningham, and what may be lost in all this is Brunson and all of the guys from the Dallas side here. Luka, there was no line early in the day, which made it look like Luka may play. But all of a sudden, Brunson, where he might have been 50+% owned, Kristaps, who may have been 50+% owned, Hardaway was going to be 40+% owned. Now they're going to be much lower owned. So you could take that for what take it with a grain of salt, but those guys are all interesting to me, and I like Ayton on the other side of that game as a run back. So even separately, I like him. I also think that there is some speculation worth happening here for this Toronto side. I understand that they may not sit Siakam, but you're looking at projection systems that have him projected to play 37 minutes on a back-to-back. Well, I'm not saying that couldn't happen. We have no reason to think a guy who just came back from a serious injury, why would they do that? Honestly, if I were them, I'd sit him. We also have the Precious question mark, which is going to open up Khem Birch big time. Khem Birch is probably still in play anyway, but if there's no Precious, I think Birch is a really, really, really strong play on DraftKings, and I actually have some interest in him on FanDuel as well. All the guys for the Clippers are out for me now because of Batum being there, and I just don't want to. It's too mucked up, so I'm not going to do any of that. The Sacramento guys, I think that you could make an argument for Barnes or Fox as medium spend ups and for Halliburton. It's just hard to you're going to have to play Halliburton with Poole. He can outscore Poole, don't get me wrong, but I don't think you want to try to find the direct pivot in these cases where we have such extreme usage going around. It's going to take just a really bad shooting night. So I wouldn't try to outthink it. I just would try to take the guys. I do think Wiggins is going to be lower on tomorrow. I keep looking back at that game. So maybe actually getting some Wiggins. I have some Looney. I have some Bjelica. I have some Damian Lee is probably my favorite of those guys. Bjelica and Lee, I guess, would be my two favorite. But you'll see some Moses Moody minutes. You'll see some Chris Chiozza minutes tonight. Juan Toscano-Anderson is going to have, I mean, he's probably one of the easiest ones to play, I guess. It's just it's really hard to ignore that game for me. So I'm not going to ignore some of the chalk, but I am trying to find ways to get different. Hey, Steve L, what's up, buddy? Would I play Wiggins? Yeah, of course. And don't worry about playing Wiggins and Poole together. There's nothing happening there. I have to answer this phone call, unfortunately. So I'm going to mute myself, and you guys ask some questions. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, guys. That was a call I needed to take. Ridiculous, but sorry about that. I do like Tatum. I like Tatum on both sides. FanDuel, he's going to be more popular, but I do like him on both sides a lot. I think it's a really, really strong play. I don't think there's a whole lot more for me to go through. So if there's no questions, I'm going to go back to building my lineups. I told you guys exactly what I'm doing. It's a combination of stacking up those games. Now on the transparency on the Detroit side, I don't have as much interest in the game stack, but I do like Cunningham as a run back. And I really do think though you can play four guys from four of the Brooklyn guys and maybe one or two from Golden State, and then play the rest. The other two would be Carter and Anthony or something like that. I really think that's a really viable route to go tonight. And the Warriors, the Brooklyn value, they both go pretty deep, but the Warriors tend to divide it up a little bit, and the usage is what you're gonna get a huge up on for all these guys. Porzingis on FanDuel is a long shot play, sure. I wouldn't prioritize it by any means, but it's a fine long shot play. You could definitely do a lot of things. I'd rather play Tatum than Porzingis, for example, but that's it. All right, guys, I appreciate everybody for being here. You guys are terrific as always. We do have the optimizer. Check that out and make sure to try and fill it to get a look at that. And sheets get better, so I don't have to do this stuff alone. And if there's no more questions, guys, I'll leave it for one more minute. And if there's no more questions, I'm going to get out of here. Anyway, that's it. All right. Well, I'm going to give that second it's given. And I'm going to say good luck, everybody. And I hope you all crush it tonight.